This way. Come on. Hey, welcome. We're just getting started here. If you haven't seen my channel before, I'm Oliver the Wolf Guy. I am the founder and executive director of the Tahoe Wolf Center. We're a nonprofit that works with and teaches people about the incredible value of wolves. And this evening, I'm out with my Alaskan Malamute Nepenthe here, but also the alpha wolf in our project here. This is a Kutak, and you might be surprised to learn that a Kutak is a 14-year-old female. And what you'll probably find interesting if you've heard the whole alpha wolf thing is that the most important wolf, and here she's showing her alpha behavior, is she's posting a no trespassing sign, so every other canine in the area where we live knows exactly who the most serious animal is up here. And in modern wolf science, what we've learned is that this whole alpha wolf concept of the animal that claws its way to the top of the pecking order and eats first and dominates all the others through aggression is not true. Those are observations based on putting unrelated wolves into captivity, and they had to work out some way of coexisting, but that is not how actual wolf packs form or work. And now we know that the alpha wolves are really the mom and the dad, the principal breeding pair in the family group. Usually they're the ones that originally found any pack. All wolf packs are families. And the most important animal, incidentally, is, hello everybody, the most important animal is actually the breeding female. She's pretty much the glue that holds the family group together, and generally speaking, makes the most important decisions that relate to where they're going to den and have pups, and therefore hold territory. And they're just the sort of the organizational leader of the family group. And so even though a Kutak here, her name, by the way, means ice cream in Yupik, and she's Arctic wolf. And you can see the intensity here, just throwing soil. And that behavior is a territorial display. She's announcing to all other passing canids that are in the area that she's here. So dogs and wolves both have scent glands in their feet. And so when they're scraping the ground, they're putting their scent in the ground. They're also creating a visual reminder of their presence. They're putting down their scent and throwing, and here, so she's seen other dog has defecated here, and so they're both, the Malamute does it too, and so they're scent marking with urine, and then she's distributing the urine so that her scent is more broadly distributed, and it makes it even stronger. And so now she's decided that this is an important area, and so in addition to having a urine scent mark, she's putting a scat mark here as well. And it won't surprise me if after she finishes, she also scrapes to throw that around. And yep, so she's just making sure that her scent in this particular area is super well broadcast. And the reason is this is sort of a trail intersection, and so there's likely other dogs. And she takes offense to that. She feels like they're trespassing, and she'll try to destroy their scent marks by marking over them, scraping them away. And that is a pretty typical, so wolves are more territorial than dogs, of course. Dogs kind of coexist in a friendly, loosely, they don't form hard territorial boundaries typically, but wolves do. And so what you're seeing here is, so I like to say that dogs post messages and wolves post warnings. And the warning is, this is my house and I don't want you in it. And of course, they're in the wild. Wolf family groups, wolf packs, tend to be really coordinated and sociable with each other. They tend not to hurt each other in any kind of skirmishes. But the same cannot be said for pack versus pack confrontation. And so other than humans, the thing that kills most wolves is actually wolf-on-wolf conflict. So let me have a quick look here at comments. Hey, welcome. Do you work with that stuff? So, hey, debt collector, I've seen those ads, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, because the wolves that have collars, that data, I mean, I know a lot about the collar data because I've worked with those collars. I've helped develop those collars for a couple companies, actually, testing them on my animals. So those collars check in typically once every 24 hours, maybe twice, because otherwise the batteries get eaten up real fast and they're not easy to get the wolves and replace a collar. So they want it to last a couple years. They're talking to a satellite, and then the satellite is downloading telemetry to a researcher's computer. And so I'm not sure what they're claiming on those ads about the telemetry, that, if you're actually getting real data from a wolf. I mean, I suppose it's possible if the organization is truly tied into research and that researcher is, diligent about sharing the information kind of after the fact, but I don't know specifically. So let's see here. Anyone else eating while watching this? All right. Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy? Hope you're doing well. I got one of my friends here, jumped on for a second. So we've got, I'll flip this around. The animals are way prettier than me. So for those that you have not tuned into the channel before, I am Oliver the Wolf Guy. I'm the founder and executive director of the Tahoe Wolf Center. We are a 501c3. This means we're a nonprofit organization, and we do education, science, and advocacy. And that means that I spend a lot of time teaching people about wolves, standing in front of government agencies to advocate for continued wolf recovery. And I also write a considerable amount about the work I've done. I am the author of the Wolf Lover's Guide to Raising Dogs. Hey, Brandon. Which is 40 years of my experience condensed into 262 pages of how to have your dog love you more, basically. And this evening I'm out here with my Alaskan Malamute Nepenthe, who I call a skunk wolf because she acts like a wolf, but she's got skunk colors. And she's just over a year. And for those of you that are wondering how big wolves are, Nepenthe here is just under 80 pounds, which would make her a respectably sized female dog. And when she rolls up next to a Akutak here, she looks about the size of a Shiba Inu. And Akutak isn't super heavy, but she's super tall. And Akutak is actually, and by the way, her name means ice cream in Yupik. So you can see the size comparison there. Nepenthe is certainly stockier, but Akutak is a tall and skinny being, very leggy, and doing amazing for 14, which is a pretty old lady now. That's like 98 in canine years. And she's still dragging me up the mountain right now. And we have, our largest animal is 150 pounds. Then we have a 130-pound pup and 200-pound girls. And even though Akutak is the smallest, she's the one in charge. She's, all these animals, she was a surrogate mother, and so she's the matriarch of the family group. Everyone else we got when they were very, very small. And so Akutak adopted them as her own, which is how wolves actually are very good with puppies. In the wild right now. Mike, dude, thank you so much. Appreciate that so much. Do I believe in God? My God is the process that created everything here, including wolves. That's I believe in science and the natural processes that created the world we live in. But I'm not keen to dive into that stuff on a live stream because it's not my area of expertise. I'm a carnivore expert, and that's my focus. The other thing I talk about is human leadership inspired by actual wolf behavior, because I think that natural wolf family groups and the way they're led is a totally inspirational model for human leadership, especially for people that are trying to develop high-performing teams. Wolves are social carnivores. That means that they work together to bring down their food, and those behaviors are exquisitely choreographed. Most of the things wolves kill are, significantly bigger. In the case of bison, up to 20 times larger than the wolves. And so they have to be very clever and collaborative. The biggest wolf I've got is named Icknick, which means meteor or fireball. So luckily, they don't lay down on hikes. More likely, they're not ready to turn in when I am, and I end up having to convince them that we're heading home. And my Malamute is, Malamutes are a pulling breed, and she just pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls until I'm dead. Hey, Brandon, I'd be happy to. So I was aggressive and I was scared. All right, so I'm going to answer your questions here. Let's see. All right, so have I been not in many, many years. I've never really been scared of any of the animals I worked with, but I do have a healthy respect for their capabilities. And the way that I work with my animals is very collaborative. So I like to say that the wolves in my project are my teammates, not my inmates. And so my guidance is typically sort of gentle. I don't really force them to do anything. I am, in many ways, I'm like the patriarch, the father of the family group, because I bottle fed almost all these animals with just one exception. And so they're very, very bonded to me. And they clearly know I'm not a wolf, but I think that they accept my leadership, and we work together. Many, many years ago, though, I did get attacked by an animal that I did not raise from a very tiny puppy. If you dig into my lives, like this time, middle of last year, like July or something, you'll see there's a live called The Day My Wolf Tried to Eat Me, and I explain what happened there. So let's talk about the wolf inspiration for teams. Okay, so I recently announced that in addition to my directorship of my nonprofit and my work as an author, I really felt strongly about trying to get rid of this alpha wolf myth. I hate this alpha wolf myth and all these guys it's gotten so bad now that when I go and I do like school presentations to like little kids, like 10 years old, and there's kids that come up to me and they're like, oh, I'm an alpha. And I'm like, okay, you must be watching Joe Rogan. And it's really unfortunate because it gives wolves a bad reputation and it gives humans an excuse for bad behavior. And it's not. So there's really two forms of leadership. There's benevolent leadership and there's dictatorial or malevolent leadership. And malevolent leadership is because I said so. I know what's right, do what I said. Very little tolerance for other ideas, alternative ways of thinking, high pressure, high competition, pitting people against each other. You see that leadership style in, certain politicians and certainly in countries where there are dictators. And it's a terrifying form of leadership that is also usually ends badly for the leader on a long enough timeline. Like very few dictators ride off into the sunset as a happy ending. They usually end up eaten by their people. And even with wolves, when hey, come on, let's go this way. So here, I'll give you an example of, she kind of wants to go that way, but I know it's because she wants to go and sort of post up some aggressive faces at some neighboring homeowners' canines. And so I sort of gently ask her to move along this way, and you'll see she is. But a lot of my discussion with the animals is, come on, let's go this way. So that malevolent leadership, it's not a sustainable form of leadership over the long haul. And the problem for organizations now is that people have a lot of options. And so what you end up with is high turnover, high burnout, lower overall performance, a lack of creativity as people don't feel comfortable with sharing their ideas, their inspirations. They're afraid of failure, so they don't take risks. And the most effective teams are often actually led by women because they tend to be more collaborative and less dictatorial. But I have an entire leadership framework that I call the Benevolent Alpha Framework, where basically I analogize the things that make wolf packs so super functional and effective. And I help human leaders see leadership through the lens of collaborative wolf family group behaviors. I help them develop a circle of trust for the people that they work with so that failure is not unacceptable, but is a natural consequence of taking chances and learning. And I inspire more creativity in collaborative approach to working together. I found that it's a new way of seeing how to be in charge that tends to result in teams that are longer lived, more productive, much higher quality of life within the organization for people. You tend to keep your best people. You tend to inspire new leaders instead of having people leave you to become leaders elsewhere. And, how you're led is how you will lead. And so, if you get the top executives in an organization to be benevolent alpha leaders who inspire their followers rather than demand loyalty, then you have an organization that's built to last. And so I'm working with individuals and with organizations that want to learn these new leadership concepts. And incidentally, these are also based on the latest leadership science from other great minds in leadership, including the U.S. military, Simon Sinek. She's got a loop on her foot. I got to untangle my mountie there. Project Aristotle from Google. They've all done research, and they found that these kinds of leadership attributes end up with a significantly better performing teams. And the people in those teams are just happier. And happy people do great work. Unhappy people show up and clock in, and they do what they got to do to get the hell out of there at the end of the day. Right? They're looking at their watch. They're not looking at how they can inspire their colleagues by being creative and just successful, right? Success breeds success. When people are inspired and creative, they inspire others to create. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm trying to read some of this stuff. It's the biggest, strongest wolf. So I'm going to answer this question about naming real quick here. So I have a naming convention for all of my animals that is very specific and a little idiosyncratic. So we are walking up a little swamp right now because that's where Kutak wants to go. It's not my favorite choice, but that's why I wear waterproof hunting boots. So we're all in the snow melt season here, so everything is wet. My naming convention is that I use the oldest identifiable indigenous language for the region from which the animal's genetics originate. So, for example, in the case of a Kutak, her genetics originate from Nunavut province in Canada, which is like Ellesmere Island. She's Arctic, and the earliest language I can identify is Yupik, and her name is a Kutak, which means ice cream in Yupik. I like names with Q's, so you'll notice that, and I also like, a Kutak was kind of an outlier because she's in Yupik, but the rest of my animals also have earth-inspired indigenous names with Q's, which is getting tougher the more animals I have. So I have Icknick, IQ, NIQ, and that means meteor or fireball. I have Takik, which is moon or moony, TAQQIQ. She's the Q winner with 3 Qs. Then I have Sikinik, which is son, Siqiniq. That's my other female. And then finally, I have Nunarjak, or Nuni, Nunarjuaq. He only has one Q, but he's a big boy. And his name means earth or of the land. So those are the names. Let's see here. Hey, Dallas. So kitchen, yeah, my wife and I actually own some restaurants. And so yes, we are try to be a very inspired kitchen. Our people stay with us for years because they have the opportunity to learn and grow. We support them. We take care of our people. My wife is a very motherly, matronly alpha. She's the boss for sure, but in a very positive, inspiring way. So let's see here, Dallas. So I know a couple people named Dallas. I'm sorry, but and I can't see your icon very clearly right now because I'm out here in the woods. So you can help me out a little bit. Is it a wolf-themed kitchen? No, my wife is Thai. It's a Thai. We have Thai restaurant. We're about to open a new Chinese restaurant. And the new Chinese restaurant will be a Kung Fu Hustle-themed kitchen because the name of the new restaurant is going to be called Kung Pao Hustle. And it'll be a sort of a high-end, quick-service Chinese restaurant. My wife is Thai Chinese. My job is mostly wolves, but I've also able to manage construction projects. And so I handle getting the restaurant open, and then she handles doing everything else. The old Chiefs logo. Oh, right on. So for those of you that might have just jumped on, I'm Oliver the Wolf Guy. Hello. I'm the founder and executive director of the Tahoe Wolf Center. We're a 501c3. I've been working with wolves for 40 years. And the mission of the nonprofit is to teach the world why wolves are amazing. That's not the actual mission statement, but it's what I like to say because it's what I think. I find social carnivores, don't trip. Social carnivores like wolves to be among the most interesting, socially dynamic, intelligent, complex animals on Earth. And I've now been fascinated with wolves for 53 years, and I've never been bored of it once. Everything else eventually gets tiring for me, but wolves never have. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about this leadership coaching that I'm doing now, because it gives me an opportunity to showcase the best of wolves and help translate that into things people can do to have better lives, be better coaches, be better leaders at any organization, even be better parents. As many of us have had, particularly if you're more commonly with boys, I would say, but if you're an athlete and you had sort of a crazy Little League dad or a crazy Little League coach that was sort of aggro and aggressive and didn't necessarily inspire, but created fear and strife, and you did your best because you were afraid not to, but you didn't necessarily grow as a person, and you maybe had nightmares about your coach. And I'm trying hard to turn those models on their head, especially now with people talking about being alpha. And what I would say is a real alpha wolf is not a dictator, it's a caretaker. A real alpha wolf is altruistic. They understand that their success depends on the success of their family. And remember that for wild animals, ultimately, the big picture of success is that your genetics spread through the population, which means that you were a good parent. Like in complex social carnivores that have young that take many years to mature, they have much to learn. Being an altruistic and caretaking parent is the surest way to have your genes spread through a population over the long haul. And so benevolent, and if you saw, for example, our big male wolf, Icknick, who's just gigantic. If you go down my channel, it's a very recent video. I have a video of him with Sonny and Mooney when they were just a few weeks old. And you can just see how incredibly gentle he is. His head is as big as the puppies are. Cooey, let's go this way. Come on, let's roll up here. And you can see, and that is the epitome of benevolent alpha behavior in wolves, is, an animal that is incredibly big and strong and powerful, and yet is super careful and protective of the puppies. And let's see here, I'll flip this around for a sec. I got a bunch of messages that are being held here. Oh, Jesus. I don't know what's going on with this person, but we are going to report. And sorry, we have something happening here that's really inappropriate. I'm getting rid of it here. All right. Let's see here. Hey, Wolf from Elsewhere, welcome. Sorry, I'm dealing with somebody that is sending me some pretty toxic messages. And I'm going to figure out how to eliminate that person from the chat here, if I can. Put user in timeout forever. All right. I don't know. I just had somebody who was just, thank you very much, Brandon. I can't even, people like that, or there's something seriously wrong with them. And I'm disappointed when I find those people on my live stream, but we've moved on. So other people feel like reporting that individual, they probably should be investigated by the police based on what they're saying. That is the exact opposite of a benevolent alpha. That is a malevolent, unwell individual who needs psychiatric care or incarceration. So we'll leave it at that. Dallas, shout out. Hey, buddy. All right. Dad jokes. I think everybody likes dad jokes if they're clean and good and don't make other people feel poorly. So for those of you that haven't been on my channel before, here, I'll turn this around. We're starting to get a little dark, so it's a little hard to see me. Oliver the Wolf Guy. Hey, I'm the founder and executive director of the Tahoe Wolf Center. And I'm also an executive leadership coach. And I teach people about leadership through the lens of nature with the behavior of natural wolf family groups as a model for exceptional leadership. I'm out here today with my ambassador animal, Akutak, and my Malamute puppy. And Akutak is a 14-year-old Arctic wolf. She's one of the animals in my nonprofit. She's an ambassador. Akutak here is a very interesting animal for many reasons, not the least of which is because she is the cousin of the actual animal actor that played Ghost on Game of Thrones. She's more dire wolfy than these Franken dogs Colossal Biosciences created. So Arctic wolves are a very ancient wolf, and she's, I mean, you can just sort of see, right? She's just sort of Stone Age looking. Come here. She's a very Stone Age animal. And this is, you know, the animal actor that played Ghost on Game of Thrones is her cousin. And he's just a little bigger version of her. I'm not sure if he's still alive. These are pretty old animals now. Akutak here is 14, still doing amazing for 14. He's still the alpha in our family group here. Not sure what she's checking out here. But these are some vacation homes that usually aren't occupied this time of year. Are we gonna move on? Come on, let's leave it. I don't want her to pee on somebody's piece of equipment. We're heading, we live in a little mountain town. We're just coming out of the woods, kind of near my home. That's where Akutak wants to go. She likes to walk along the road because that's where other dogs have most often marked, and that way she can enforce her territory here by peeing on top of everything. Yeah, she moves great, and she's actually, I mean, the leash here is making her walk a little crooked. But she tore an ACL. It's really a cruciate ligament, not truly an ACL. And we did surgery and fixed it, and then she tore the other one, and we decided that we would let it heal naturally. She does get some arthritis. She's a little stiff in the leg, but for 14, like when she wants to run, she can run. She pulls like a banshee. For those of you that are curious about some of our health protocols, why we have such long-lived animals, and my Malamute, who is giant, just passed away at 14 last April. And the vet said it was the longest lived giant Malamute she'd ever seen by more than 2 years. So we feed raw. We do a lot of prophylactic health care, a lot of testing every year. We don't over-vaccinate. A Kutak, we've, oh, here, Chewy, you're pulling too hard and you're tangling everyone up. It's not nice. Nepente, step over. There we go. You would not believe how hard this 85-pound animal pulls. It just, by the time I'm done with the hike, my hips and my knees are just brutalized. I mean, look at the tension on this line. And that's, through her chest muscles. It's just insane. Like she's just a beast. I get so beat up hiking with her. But the last 6 months or so, we've been giving her a medication called Librela. It's a once-a-month injection, and it has made a huge difference in how she feels. Like a tectonic difference. Like I use Phi tracking collars. You can see those at Phi Dogs, which as an activity tracker, it doesn't just tell you where the dog is, it tells you how much the dog moves and how intense that movement is every day. And within 2 months of starting Librela, her activity levels doubled. She felt that much better. Yeah, I have a Moonie. And then I also have a Moon, which is not the same as a Moonie. Moonie is pretty serious. Moon is Moon. He's just nutty. And that's the animal that there's a video that says he doesn't have rabies. He just acts like he has rabies because he licks doors. He jumps up and down and bounces off the glass. He's just a crazy thing. Let's see, living on property. Patches. Interesting. I wonder if I know your people. I know a lot of people that have wolves and wolf dogs. You know what? Because I wish YouTube would have an instant messaging or direct messaging capability. It would be so much nicer. But on TikTok, I am also at All Over the Wolf Guy. And it'd be cool if you'd send me a message. I'd love to see some pictures of Patches. All right, here. Parents are rewatching Game of Thrones. What breed of wolf is portrayed as a dire wolf? It's actually, so most of the animals they used are low content or no content wolf dogs like Nymeria, at the very beginning of the series, they actually were using principally dogs, including a white German Shepherd. But then as the budget increased and the show took off, they upgraded the animals and particularly Ghost, because the other animals were kind of eliminated relatively early. But the animal actor that played Ghost is an Arctic wolf, trained by Andrew Simpson, I believe, and looks exactly like her. They just CGI'd the red eyes, but the actual underlying animal is the spitting image of her. Just the spitting image. How many Dallas on my live streams? Probably just you, today at least. Cooey, you're dragging me down the hill. To ever hunt on their own, does that take away from the natural behavior? So our animals are in a large natural habitat, but there is no big game in their habitat. And they do kill a lot of small stuff. They'll kill birds, rabbits, anything that gets in there. If it's not careful, it's going to pay a big tax. All right, I'm just trying to catch up here a little bit. I am in the Tahoe area. Do I have a Facebook? I do have a Facebook. Let's see here, hold on. Yes, they did. Because there was a wolf in Yellowstone who lived to be quite old. She was the breeding female of the Wapiti Lake pack, and they called her the White Lady of Yellowstone. And she looked pretty much just like this girl here, which was really interesting because she's different subspecies. But the subspecies in wolves are really, it's such a fine line because they all can breed. They all are physically very, very similar. That you could drop an Arctic wolf in Yellowstone and it would do just fine if it didn't get killed by other wolves. And you could drop a Yellowstone Canis lupus occidentalis wolf in Cooey. You're on the wrong side, so watch this. Come on, come around it. She's so smart. You'll see she completely understands the rope. She in particular fascinates me because she actually understands the rope in a very complex way. Like she can go into a thicket and get wound up around stuff, and she understands she has to retrace the rope. Malamutes are super smart dogs, but I've never had a Malamute that was as savvy with a rope as my wolves, and a Kutak is just in a league of her own. Like she never gets tangled up. Like, you know, she can walk around something a couple times and realize she has to go back the other direction a couple times. It's so interesting. All right. I'm gonna try to turn up the light here. My phone is really dim. I did, I guess, is that L. Jason? I'm not sure how to say what you're going for there. But not only did I see it, but I did about an hour live stream digging into that science that you can find on my channel. It's the second live from the top right now. It's called Let's Talk About the Dire Wolf Experiment. So my short take for you guys here, if you're curious, is it was a publicity stunt, not a scientific breakthrough. Those animals have less than 1% dire wolf DNA. And to a trained eye like me, I mean, you got to remember, I've raised many dozens of wolves, and I've spent my entire life pretty much focused on the species. I've been, you know, every day of my life for 40 years. I hardly have had a day off. And even when I have, I'm still, like, I cannot. My wife once bet me $100 that I couldn't go through dinner without saying the W word. And I mean, within 4 minutes, she's like, "You owe me $100." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, you just can't help yourself, can you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's my obsession." And so with that caveat, I will tell you that I see obvious genetic deformities in those animals. Principally, and you can see this for yourself if you know what to look for, they have an overbite. They have a very significant overbite. That is not the morphology of the dire wolf skull. Dire wolves have an even bite, just like other wolves. An overbite in canines is a genetic defect. The other thing about that, yeah, well, some dogs get confused. What can you say? And we've got, I don't know if you guys can see this here because it's pretty dark, but I'm on the other side of the habitat. So those are my other animals there. We're having a little communication. One of my wolves wants to kill my Malamute, so I'm not going to get near the fence just because it exacerbates an already dicey situation. But they're all peeping at me. And I think what we're going to do is just go down and around here so I don't have to deal with that. Let me zoom this back out. So yeah, the dire wolves, that, you know, I call them Frankenwolf dogs. This experiment, I just think it was ethically really questionable for a lot of reasons. What people don't know is that there were 45 implanted embryos. Of the 45, 4 survived. Of the 4, one of them died at a few weeks old from an intestinal infection, they said. This is nuts to me. I mean, with all those resources, they couldn't keep a puppy healthy. Like wolf puppies, normal wolf puppies, are hard to kill. Like, it's really, I mean, they survive in the wild with wild parents, and they do just great with humans. In practiced hands, like people like me that have bottle fed tons of litters, like you should have 8 of 8 every time, pretty much. I mean, unless something is just really wrong, you should always have a very high success. So to have a 25% mortality, and it's also my understanding that the dogs that they used as the surrogate were some kind of mixed breed hound. And apparently it was quite difficult on the dogs. I don't have great details on it, but I've heard that it was not trivial for these dogs. And that, you know, they didn't ask for that. And I mean, the thing is that, you know, they're making a big deal about cloning now these ghost wolf DNA, but I will tell you right now that there's a company called Viagen that will clone your dog for 50 grand. And they have a very high success ratio. In fact, a Kutak is so rare. Her genetics are so rare that we are banking samples with Viagen. She's just such a spectacular, interesting animal. I've had such an amazing life with her for the last 14 years that I'm reluctant to watch her wink out. And so I just want the backup copy if I can have it. And my plan with that would be actually to, if I decide to reproduce her, I would use one of my other wolves that is intact to carry the embryo. And that is not their normal practice of Viagen. They basically said it's at your own risk. So I could be, throwing a lot of money at a failure. But if I'm going to do that thing, I want the animal to have the benefit of wolf hormones and just a normal wolf gestation, and then having the opportunity to have that surrogate parent be a wolf. At that point, it would actually be a real parent, just mixed DNA. So hang on for a sec, folks. I'm going to put you in my old chest rig while I get a headlamp going here. This is getting pretty dark here. Just bear with me for 1 minute. And if you guys have questions, the main reason I live stream here is not to hear myself talk, although I seem to do a lot of it, but is to answer questions that people might have, whether it's about wolf biology or in this case, this experiment that they did. And they're not bringing back a woolly mammoth. Like, they're like, we'll bring back a woolly. So the thing is that they, like, 20 edited genes, less than 1% of a genome, does not a dire wolf make. It just does not. And so, all these claims they're making are just so exaggerated. And I mean, you'll see if you're really interested in the topic, you'll see that serious scientists are seriously disappointed in the media that Colossal Biosciences has put forth. And I'm, as a former journalist, I am seriously disappointed in the media that has just vomited up the press releases verbatim without having a single skeptical inquiry, which is so disappointing. Like, they have this amazing opportunity to ask good questions like, why are we even trying to bring some extinct form of wolf back at all when we're killing every wolf we can right now? Like, if there's no tolerance for the wolves we've got, why do we need to bring back a wolf that evolutionarily was a dead end? And they're not even wolves, by the way. Dire wolves are more closely related to jackals than they are to modern wolves. Like, they're so different. They're more different. The difference between dire wolves and modern wolves is greater than the difference between human beings and bonobos. It's a huge difference, right? We're 99.7% identical DNA, and bonobos are, and dire wolves and modern wolves are 99.5. They could not have bred. So this whole idea that they're gonna bring that thing back, like, you would have had to have a surrogate womb from the right species. It's not even the same species. So dire wolves were in the Pleistocene in North America, and that's why the fossils that are recovered were as far south as Los Angeles and the La Brea tar pits. I think the samples they used were from Idaho, so they were kind of distributed in the same places as North American gray wolves, but also their food. Yeah, they're not going to do it. There's no way. I mean, they don't have a species they could incubate it in. What are they going to use? Elephants? Like, they're so far from it. Like, and the thing that really bums me out about this is that billions of dollars have gone into Colossal Biosciences. And, if you gave me billions of dollars, I would buy habitat. I would just buy and set aside critical pieces of habitat that connect species genetically, and I would keep people and developers out. And you know what? That benefits the whole world, not just a couple of investors' pocketbooks and the author of Game of Thrones vanity. It benefits every one of us for helping to preserve the biosphere and the species that rely on it, and us because we rely on the species that rely on the biosphere. So let's see here. Yes, indeed. tar pit. Hey, Cooey, can we go this way? I know where you're going. She wants to go and stiff walk past this other dog. That's what she wants to do. I know you. Can we go this way? Can we go this way instead of that? Come on, let's go this way. She's like, no. She's so stubborn. So what she's gonna do is we're about Nepente, wait. Oh my God, I just get demolished when she walks on the road. It's so hard on my knees. She just pulls and pulls and pulls. Hey, watch out, you're gonna end up under my feet. We're about to walk by this house that has a dog that sometimes barks at her through the fence. And so you'll get to see here this territorial behavior in just a minute, because what's gonna happen is she's gonna get real stiff. See how her tail is kind of just hanging a little bit? Her tail's gonna stick straight out, real stiff. And her fur is gonna stand up on her back and her belly. And she's gonna walk real stiff. She's gonna be all big. It's so funny. And that's just an aggressive display. She won't bark, she won't growl. She'll just stiff walk. And if the dog is on the other side of the fence and it like barks or growls at her, she'll like pounce towards the fence. So stay tuned for it, because we're almost at the fence. And it's just so funny. Like, see how her tail's relaxed, but here we go. We're getting close to the fence. So here comes the Mohawk. Even if the dog's not there, see her? It's just like autopilot. She goes on bitchy pants Mohawk. Here we go. So, oh, here it is, see? All right, Nepente, don't do it. See how her hair is all standing up and her tail's all stiff? She looks like a warthog now. See how she's just all like, that's how a wolf says, I'm gonna kill you. I call that tail at kill o'clock. Good girl, we just kept walking. Not reacting, just stiff leg walking. Don't do it, come on. See how her fur on her belly's all sticking down? So that's an aggressive threat display. See how her ears are forward? Like, she's not afraid, you know. She's just looking for trouble. Aren't you? We call her Princess Bitchy Pants. She has the bitchiest pants in the whole town. And this is the gentler, milder, old-timer version. You should have seen her when she was 5. About, like 7 years ago, we were walking by a house up here, and there's a dog on the deck. And it was like an ancient chow, and it like aggressed at her. It went, rah, rah, barked at her. Well, it's been like 7 years at least that we walked by that house. The dog is long dead. The house has been empty for years. Somebody moved away and never moved back. And every time we go by that house, she does that exact same thing. She's like, one time a dog barked at me in this house, and I'll remember that house forever. What's this old hypothesis? Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. So let's see, I'm catching up with some questions here. So AV8, you know, it's just an unfortunate thing that sometimes females don't get along. And Mooney, who loved Nepente the most when Nepente was small, I think what happened was she got jealous and aggressive, because Mooney went into heat sort of early this last winter. Like, wolves usually go into heat in like late January, early February. Mooney started going into heat in very late December, which is unusual. And so we separated her from her boyfriend, Icknick, because we didn't want them to have puppies. And so her hormonal intensity really increased. And then Nepente, who was a puppy, was still with Icknick. I separated both of my subadult, sexually intact females from the boys. And I think that Mooney in particular just got really jealous that Nepente was with Icknick, even though Nepente wasn't breedable. And Mooney threatened her a few times, and Nepente is very spicy and just aggressed back, and so it just created this enmity. And you know, wolves in captivity and malamutes are kind of the same. The females are the pain in the ass. The boys can sort of fight and get over it. The girls, once they don't like each other, they hate each other for life. Kind of like my wife. She gets mad at another lady, it's over. She'll hate her until she dies. So, let's see. Nepente. That's funny. Nepente. I like that one. All right, let's see. I'm just trying to catch up here. Let's see. New study suggests 99.5. I'm sorry, jackals 99.5? Same as gray wolves? Is that what you're saying? I'm not... Yeah, I heard we were 97.5 as bonobos. Brandon, have a good night, buddy. Let's see here. I'm just catching up, you guys. He'll have no fury, yep. Hi from Brazil. Oh, that's interesting. Cool that somebody else is into this stuff. But yeah, I mean, they don't have an intact dire wolf genome. So, you know, and the problem is, here's the other issue with it, is that right now you've got low IQ, big mouth morons in Congress like Lauren Boebert, who had the ridiculous, she's like, well, now we can let things go extinct because we can just bring them back. Like, I mean, like, it's just such a ridiculously stupid thing to say that it's like, I mean, it sure as hell is a lot better to keep a species around than to try a desperate genetic salvation after the fact, you know? And I mean, what, you say, you know, you got a single genome, that isn't a viable species. You know, that's just not a viable species. I mean, and look at, they spent billions of dollars at Colossus to create a Franken dog. You know, it'll cost me 50 grand to clone her. So it's just, you know, but I mean, but the GOP is literally using Colossal Biosciences publicity stunt as an excuse to terminate the Endangered Species Act. I am not kidding. They are, I heard today that the Trump administration has essentially, through an executive order, attempted to terminate 100 years of environmental protections. Clean air, clean water, migratory species, Endangered Species Act, like anything that's kept this planet livable for the last 100 years, he wants to just terminate it. I don't even understand why. Like, I mean, he must really hate his kids. He must hate them so much to want to just dismantle the things that keep our air breathable, our water drinkable, our land viable for growing food. It's just insanity. Yeah, they really are. Well, exactly. Like, I mean, I'd be much more interested, and it would be more viable to bring back, for example, the Japanese wolf, right? That's a very interesting subspecies that we do have a whole genome, because they passed away, and we have, you know, and that would be something that we could actually bring back. But even so, like, I would rather just allow the species that are currently here, like the Mexican gray wolf and the red wolf, to recover. You know, it's a lot cheaper to keep something going than it is to bring it back from the dead, you know. A good friend of mine once said, it's easier to give birth than to revive the dead. And in spite of Colossal Biosciences' colossal publicity stunt, that's still true today. All right, come on, we're going up the hill now. You're not dragging me back there just so you can go, yep. See, she's so funny. She wants to go stiff walk that dog again. Come on, Kiwi. Come on. No, we're not. Let's go home and see our people. So there's one of each here. I guess you say Suelen. The white one is Arctic wolf, and the black and white one is an Alaskan Malamute. Beagle. Yeah, well, that's, one of my missions in educating people about wolves is to educate them about how important habitat is for wolves. They can't exist in small islands of habitat. They need large, connected, significant, like the entire spine of the Rockies as connected habitat, all the way from northern Canada into Mexico, right? There's subspecies of wolves and the food they need all along that. There used to be in North America, there used to be 60 million bison and probably 2 million wolves. And now people are saying there's too many wolves in California. There's like 85. It's just so frustrating that, we have such a selfish mentality about this place. And it's a short-sighted selfishness because we need these species. I mean, I'll give you a great example. So you've probably heard of zombie deer disease. It's also known as chronic wasting disease. And it's not a bacteria or a virus or a fungus. It's something called a prion, which is a misfolded protein that is contagious. And it's spreading unchecked through North America. It's in California, it's in Colorado, it's in Wisconsin. It's a plague we started because we were doing research at CSU in the 60s with sheep infected with a similar disease called scrappy. And they had captive deer. And the deer got infected and escaped. And this problem is so pervasive that ultimately they had to burn that facility to the ground and scrape 5 feet of topsoil, and they still couldn't clear it. And so it's just a biohazard now. It's like something out of a horror movie, but it's real. And the only thing we know that slows the spread, this disease is so pernicious because infected animals are infected for years, spreading the infection before they die. And during that time, they're spreading the infection because it's in their feces. And so what happens is they defecate, and then it gets into the soil and it grows up in the grasses that other animals consume. And it's just, once it's there, it doesn't go away. And the only thing that seems to slow the spread of it is predation by opportunistic predators like wolves, because wolves are able to identify animals that have chronic wasting disease well before they're symptomatic and remove them from the population. And so I'll give you an example that's just fascinating. Is in Wisconsin, there's so much chronic wasting disease that every single animal that a hunter kills is required to be tested so that we don't risk exposing the human population to the disease. And in the counties where there are no wolves, 76% of the animals tested are positive for chronic wasting disease. It's endemic. And just a few counties over where there are wolves, only 24% of the animals tested are infected. And it seems that their digestive tract is acidic enough that it doesn't allow any infection to be spread through the wolves. Some people are trying to claim that they poop out prions when they eat infected meat, but that has not been borne out. But what's really scary is a few years ago, 2 guys in Wisconsin died of the human variant of this disease. And the only thing they had in common was they belonged to the same deer lodge and possibly consumed prion-infected meat. And just recently, they had another cluster in Oregon, kind of the same deal, 2 hunters. And they haven't ruled it in yet, but I think it's highly likely that we're starting to see human variant chronic wasting disease, which they call Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, as a result of eating infected meat in places where they haven't been doing surveillance. And because this disease takes like 20 years to develop in humans, and we're just starting to see it now, I think we're going to see more and more and more of it over the next 5 to 15 years until we know we got a true emergency. Hold on here. We are going to be our own downfall, probably. Yeah, one of those two things is likely. So it's not like rabies. Rabies is a virus. So prion diseases, it's spelled Prion, and they're very odd. They're just so different from any other kind of disease we've ever encountered. But there is no vaccine for it. Once an animal's infected, it's a one-way ticket. Once a human is infected, it's a one-way ticket. And it's not a pretty way to go. It's asymptomatic for many years, and then all of a sudden you're on your deathbed really fast. You lose your memory. It's like having instant onset Alzheimer's disease, kind of. Come on. Oh, these animals? Okay, so the white one here is our Arctic wolf. Her name is a kutak, which means ice cream. And the Malamute here with the fuzzy white tail is Nepenthe. Congratulate. Yes, I do remember you. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Well done. So what you gonna do now? Oh, we're just getting up the hill here. She dragged me into submission. But of course, they never drag you on the uphills. So I end up suffering here. We are just coming into the habitat. All the other animals are in the back half of the habitat. So we won't have any greeting excitement here. Come on. Come on. She's like, no, I'm not ready to go home yet. Come on, Kiwi. We're wrapping it up. I see a bunch of eye shine on the other side of the fences. What's up? Let's go. Time for Dad to have dinner. And then we got to feed everybody else here. Come on. Not sure that wolves are dying from infected birds. Yeah, she is very stubborn. She's used to making her own rules. We call her Princess Bitchy Pants for a reason. She kind of runs the show. It's super funny. So, quick story here as I wrap this up. So, in the wild and even in captivity, wolves that are a bonded pair, like the alpha pair, they do this behavior where when one of them urinates, the other one urinates on top of it, not to destroy it, but to reinforce it. We call it a reinforcing scent mark or marking over, which is different from the sort of the rubbing out behavior you see when a kutak, sees another dog's scent and she just tries to destroy it. And so a kutak sees herself as my partner. Like she sees my wife as sort of her sister and me and her as a couple. It's very funny. And the reason I say that is because when I take a leak outside, which is pretty much every day, she'll roll over. Come on, let's go in. And she'll mark on top of it. She'll reinforce it. And so it's funny. It's cute, whatever. Come on. Come on. She's like, no, I'm not coming in. Come on. Let's go. All the way. You got to come all the way. All right. And so a kutak sleeps in the house, and she marks in the house. By the way, I'm about to launch an amazing enzyme-based, all-natural odor destroyer for urine and any kind of canine mess. And also you can use it to wash your dog when they roll in nasty stuff. I'm going to put you in my chest rig here so I can release these guys. But I'll tell you the story. So anyway, she marks in the house. Like she'll get up and she'll go pee on the door if I don't get there to let her out in time. She's like, F you, I'm peeing on the door. So we're used to dealing with quick cleanup here. By the way, I think I'm going to call this product Peeper Spray because I think it's really funny. And that's what we call it at home. And it's wolf tested. If it can deal with wolf piss, which smells like cat piss on steroids, then it can deal with anything a dog outputs. But anyway, so she marks in the house. And one day my wife says to me, she calls me into the bathroom and she goes, hey, I think you've been pissing all over the bathroom in the night. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, I have a toilet nightlight. I put up the lid. I'm a pro. I'm not missing. And she goes, well, it smells like piss in here. And I